The massive crystal hall stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of alien beings filled the floating platforms that hung in the air like glowing islands. Each platform held representatives from different worlds across the galaxy. Some looked like giant insects. Others were covered in scales or had tentacles instead of arms. A few glowed with their own light. Ambassador Tai-Ho Kim sat quietly on the human platform. He was the only human in the entire hall. His simple gray suit looked plain next to the colorful robes and armor of the other delegates. He had been representing Earth for 3 years now, ever since humanity joined the Galactic Confederation. The massive screen at the center of the hall showed the day's agenda. Today they would discuss territorial boundaries and trade agreements. Tai-Ho hoped it would be a quiet session. Delegate Vexithara rose from her platform. She looked like a praying mantis the size of a person, with 4 arms and black eyes that never blinked. Her voice came through the translation device as sharp and cold. "Fellow delegates," she said, "we must address the human problem." Tai-Ho felt his stomach drop. He had hoped this day would not come so soon. "The humans have been members of our confederation for only 3 years," Vexithara continued. "In that time they have shown disturbing patterns of behavior. They are emotional. They act without thinking. They become violent over small matters." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some delegates nodded their heads or made sounds of agreement. Counselor Mordan, an ancient reptilian with silver scales, spoke next. "The humans are unpredictable. Last month, their merchants got into a fight with Zephyrian traders over pricing. The humans became so angry they nearly started a diplomatic incident." More murmurs. Tai-Ho remembered that incident. The Zephyrian traders had been cheating human colonists, selling broken equipment at high prices. The human merchants had simply demanded fair treatment. "They cannot control their emotions," added another delegate. "When they become upset, they lose all reason. It is dangerous to have such unstable beings in our peaceful confederation." Tai-Ho stood up. The hall grew quiet as all eyes turned to him. He activated his platform's speaker system. "Honored delegates," he said in his calm voice, "I understand your concerns, but I think there may be some misunderstandings about human nature." Vexithara's head turned toward him with a sharp movement. "Misunderstandings? Your own history shows centuries of warfare. Your people fight among themselves constantly. Even now, your planet has conflicts and disagreements." "That is true," Tai-Ho admitted. "Humans do have conflicts, but we also have the ability to come together when it matters. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We help those in need." "Protection through violence," Mordan hissed. "Your species solves problems with force. This is not the way of civilized beings." Other delegates began to speak. They shared stories about human behavior they found troubling. A human ship captain who had refused to follow proper docking procedures to help a damaged vessel. Human diplomats who had walked out of negotiations when they felt terms were unfair. Human traders who had banned certain aliens from their markets after discovering fraud. Each story was told as evidence of human instability. But Tai-Ho heard something different. He heard stories of humans standing up for what they believed was right, even when it was difficult. "I propose we limit human expansion," Vexithara announced. "They should be restricted to their home solar system until they can prove they have learned to control their violent impulses." The hall erupted in discussion. Many delegates seemed to agree with the proposal. Tai-Ho raised his hand for permission to speak again. "Respected colleagues," he said, "I must warn you that restricting humanity may not have the results you expect. My people do not respond well to being caged." "Is that a threat?" Vexithara demanded. "No," Tai-Ho replied calmly. "It is simply a fact about human psychology. We value freedom very highly. When that freedom is threatened, we can become very determined to protect it." "There," Vexithara pointed one of her forearms at him. "You see? Even now he speaks of determination and protection. These are words that lead to violence." Mordan nodded his massive head. "The humans think they are righteous, but righteousness without wisdom is dangerous. They believe their cause is always just." "Perhaps," Tai-Ho said quietly. "That is because we choose our causes carefully." The voting began. One by one, the platforms lit up with colors. Green for yes, red for no. Tai-Ho watched as green lights outnumbered red by a large margin. The restriction would pass. When the voting ended, Vexithara stood again. "The motion passes. Humans are hereby restricted to their home system until further review. They may not establish new colonies or expand their territory." Tai-Ho remained calm, but inside he felt a cold worry. He activated his communication device to send a message back to Earth. Before he could finish typing, an aide rushed into the hall. The young Centaurian looked frightened as he whispered something to the session leader. The leader activated the main screen. "We have just received urgent news," he announced. "A human research vessel has gone missing in the Void sector. The ship Soul's Pride was last seen 3 days ago investigating ancient ruins." The hall grew quiet. The Void sector was known to be dangerous. Ships that went there often disappeared without a trace. "The human government has requested permission to send search and rescue teams," the leader continued. Vexithera spoke immediately. "Absolutely not. The Void sector is outside their restricted territory. If they violated safety protocols, they must face the consequences." Other delegates murmured agreement. Some suggested the humans had probably caused their own problems through reckless behavior. Tejo stood once more. His voice was still calm, but there was something new in it. Something that made a few of the nearer delegates shift uncomfortably. "Honored friends," he said, "I need you to understand something about humans. We do not abandon our people. Ever. If our citizens are in danger, we will help them." "Even if it means violating our restrictions?" Morden asked. Tejo looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of dozens of different species. When he spoke, his words were quiet but clear. "Especially then." Vexithara let out what the translator interpreted as laughter. "May the deity help you when humans go mad," she said mockingly. Tejo smiled sadly. "Indeed," he replied. "May the deity help us all." 3 weeks before the Galactic Council meeting, Dr. Hyun-Soo Lee stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride. Through the main window, he could see a dead planet floating in space. Its surface was gray and lifeless, but his instruments showed something interesting hidden beneath the rocks. "The ruins are definitely artificial," said engineer So Young Choi from her station. "The metal composition doesn't match anything in our databases. This civilization was old. Really old." Lieutenant Dongwook Nam checked his security readings. "No life signs anywhere on the planet. No energy signatures. Whatever happened here, it happened a long time ago." Dr. Lee nodded. As the team's lead scientist, he had spent years studying dead civilizations. But this one was different. The patterns they were seeing suggested a level of technology far beyond what most species had achieved. "Take us down," he ordered. "We need to see this up close." The Soul's Pride landed near the largest structure they had found. It looked like a pyramid made of black metal, but it was covered in symbols that seemed to move when no one was looking directly at them. The away team spent 2 days exploring the ruins. They found evidence of a great war, weapons that could destroy stars, ships larger than Earth's moon, and in the deepest chamber they found records that made Dr. Lee's blood run cold. "The Harvesters," he whispered, reading the ancient text through their translation program. This civilization called them the Harvesters. So Young looked up from her equipment. "What did they harvest?" "Minds," Dr. Lee replied. "They collected the thoughts and memories of entire species, used them to understand how different races think and feel." Nam's hand moved to his weapon. "Are they still out there?" "According to this, they disappeared thousands of years ago. Everyone thought they were extinct. That was when the attack came." The Soul's Pride's alarm system screamed warnings as massive ships appeared around the planet. They were black as space itself, with no lights or markings. They moved like living things, flowing through space rather than flying. "Captain?" So Young's voice crackled over the radio. "We need to leave now." But it was too late. Beams of energy struck the Soul's Pride before it could take off. The ship's engines died. The lights went out. Then strange gas began to fill the chambers. When Dr. Lee woke up, he was in a white room with no doors or windows. So Young and Nam were with him, along with the rest of the research team. But they were not alone. Creatures moved in the shadows outside their transparent cage. They looked like insects crossed with machines. Their bodies were covered in black metal, but underneath Lee could see flesh that pulsed with its own rhythm. One of the creatures approached their cage. When it spoke, its voice went directly into their minds. "Humans," it said, "we have waited long to study your species. Your minds are unusual." Dr. Lee stood up slowly. "You're harvesters. Yes, we are the collectors of consciousness. We gather the mental patterns of all intelligent life. But humans have always been difficult to find. Your species is young and far from the galactic center. What do you want with us?" The creature tilted its head. "To understand, human psychology is different from other species. You show remarkable flexibility in crisis situations. You adapt in ways that should be impossible. Over the following weeks, the harvesters ran tests. They put the humans in different situations and watched how they reacted. They tried to break their spirits with fear, but the humans supported each other. They tried to make them fight among themselves with limited resources, but the humans shared everything equally. Fascinating, the Harvester Queen said during one of her visits to observe them. She was larger than the others with golden metal mixed into her black armor. Most species become predictable under stress. They follow patterns. But humans what? Dr. Lee asked. You become more creative. The greater the pressure, the more unexpected your solutions become. This is not normal. So Young had been working on their cage's locking mechanism whenever the harvesters were not watching. She had discovered that the locks were designed for species with predictable behavior patterns. They assumed prisoners would try the obvious escape methods and would give up after those failed. They don't understand human stubbornness, she whispered to the others one night. They expect us to quit trying after a few attempts. So we don't quit, Nam replied. On the 20th day of their captivity, So Young finally cracked the lock. But instead of escaping immediately, she had a different idea. We need to free the others first, she said. Dr. Lee looked confused. Others? I've been listening to the harvesters talk. We're not the only prisoners here. They've been collecting members of different species for experiments. If we escape alone, those people will die. Nam shook his head. Our first duty is to get word back to Earth about the harvesters' return. Our first duty, Dr. Lee said quietly, is to help people who need help. They spent the next 3 days carefully exploring the harvester ship during their exercise periods. They found dozens of other prisoners from various species. Most had been there for months or even years. Many had given up hope of rescue. The humans want to help us escape, one of the prisoners told another after Dr. Lee shared their plan. But why? They don't even know us. Because that's what humans do, replied a delegate from Proxima Prime who had been captured 6 months ago. I served on the Galactic Council. I voted to restrict their expansion, but they're still trying to save me. On the 23rd day, the Soul's Pride team put their plan into action. So Young had figured out how to overload the ship's power grid. Nam had mapped the security systems. Dr. Lee had organized the other prisoners. The escape began at midnight ship time. So Young triggered the power overload, plunging entire sections of the ship into darkness. Nam led teams of freed prisoners toward the escape pods. Dr. Lee stayed behind to make sure everyone got out safely, but the harvesters reacted faster than expected. Emergency power came online. Security barriers slammed down, trapping half the escaped prisoners in corridors. The Harvester Queen appeared in the main corridor where Dr. Lee was helping a wounded alien to safety. Remarkable, she said, though her mental voice was angry. Even facing certain death, you risk yourself for beings you do not know. This behavior makes no logical sense. Dr. Lee looked at her calmly. That's because you don't understand humans. Then explain it to me. We believe that all intelligent life has value. When someone is in trouble, you help them. It doesn't matter who they are or what they've done. You help them because it's right. The Queen studied him with her multifaceted eyes. And if your species knew you were captured, what would they do? Dr. Lee smiled grimly. They would come for us. Even though your government has restricted your expansion, even though helping you would cause diplomatic problems? Especially then. The Queen made a sound that might have been laughter. Your species truly is mad. You would risk everything for individuals you barely know. Yes, Dr. Lee said simply, we would. As the harvesters recaptured the prisoners, Dr. Lee managed to send one final transmission toward Earth. It was only a few seconds long, but it contained their location and a warning about the harvesters' return. The message traveled through space at the speed of light, carrying news that would change everything. Admiral Su Jin-yoon stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. The walls were covered with star maps and tactical displays. Red dots showed where human ships were stationed throughout the solar system, but her attention was focused on one empty spot far from human space. The message was clear, said General Wu Jin Kang, pointing to the data on the main screen. Dr. Lee's team found evidence that the harvesters have returned. Then they disappeared. Major Ji Hai-sung studied the tactical information. The void sector has been quiet for centuries. If the harvesters are operating from there, they could strike anywhere without warning. Pilot Haewon John raised her hand. Admiral, How many ships do we have that can reach the void sector? Admiral Yoon looked at the fleet roster. Every ship we have. The question is whether the Galactic Council will allow us to use them. The answer came 3 hours later. Ambassador Tae-ho Kim appeared on the communication screen from the Galactic Council chambers. His face looked tired and frustrated. They refused, he reported. The Council voted to deny our request for a rescue mission. They say the void sector is outside our permitted territory. What about the other prisoners? General Kang asked. Dr. Lee's message mentioned multiple species being held captive. I presented that evidence. Delegate Vexathara claimed it was probably human imagination or hysteria. Several other delegates suggested our people brought this on themselves by ignoring safety protocols. Admiral Yoon felt anger building in her chest, but she kept her voice steady. What are our legal options? None, Kim replied. The restriction vote was binding. If we send ships beyond our solar system, we'll be expelled from the Confederation. Major Sung stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, I don't care about the Confederation's rules. Our people are out there. Neither do I, Yoon replied. But we need to be smart about this. General, what's the status of Operation Righteous Fury? General Kang smiled grimly. Operation Righteous Fury was humanity's contingency plan. For 3 years, while serving in the Confederation, human military leaders had quietly prepared for the possibility that they might need to act independently. All ships are fueled and ready, he reported. Personnel are on standby. We can launch the entire fleet within 6 hours of your command. Pilot Jeon looked surprised. The entire fleet? How many ships are we talking about? Every military vessel humanity has built in the past 50 years, Admiral Yoon explained. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, fighters, support ships, and troop transports. Nearly 2,000 vessels in total. The room went quiet. Most of the people present had no idea humanity had built such a large military force. The Confederation thinks we have maybe 300 ships, General Kang continued. They never asked about our total military capacity. They just assumed we were as peaceful as we appeared in diplomatic meetings. Major Sung grinned. They have no idea what they're dealing with, do they? No, Admiral Yoon said. They see our diplomats being polite and assume that's all we are. They don't understand that humans can be both peaceful and prepared for war. Ambassador Kim's voice came through the speaker. I'm going to make one more appeal to the Council. But I need you to know, if I fail and you launch this operation, there's no going back. We'll be at war with the entire Confederation. Not war, Admiral Yoon corrected. Independence. We tried to work within their system. They chose to abandon our people. The Admiral turned to address everyone in the room. I want to be clear about what we're doing. We're not just rescuing Dr. Lee's team. If the Harvesters are back, they're a threat to every species in the galaxy. We're going to stop them permanently. General Kang nodded. The battle plan is simple. We hit them fast and hard before they can escape or send for reinforcements. No mercy, no negotiations. What about the other alien prisoners? Major Sung asked. We save everyone we can, Yoon replied. That's what humans do. 2 hours later, Ambassador Kim called back. His face was pale with anger. They laughed at me, he reported, when I warned them about what humans do when our people are threatened. Delegate Vexathara actually laughed. She said, and I quote, "May the Deity help you when humans go mad." Admiral Yoon stood up. Then it's time to show them what human madness looks like. General, give the order. Launch Operation Righteous Fury. Across the solar system, human ships began moving. They had been scattered throughout space, hidden among asteroid fields and behind moons. Now they converged on Earth like a metal tide. The fleet was massive, battleships longer than city blocks. Carriers filled with fighter craft, destroyers built for speed and firepower. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who had joined when they learned about the mission. Captain In Soo Han stood on the bridge of his destroyer, the Busan's Hammer. Around him, his crew prepared for combat with quiet efficiency. Captain, his communications officer, reported, "We're receiving final mission briefings from Admiral Yoon." The main screen showed the Admiral's face. Behind her, the lights of the command center cast dramatic shadows. "Today we launched the largest military operation in human history," she said. "We're going to rescue our people and eliminate the Harvester threat. But more than that, we're going to show the galaxy who humans really are." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "The aliens think we're weak because we try to solve problems with words instead of weapons. They think we're unstable because we care about individuals instead of just governments. They're about to learn that our greatest strength comes from those very things they see as weaknesses. Captain Han felt pride swell in his chest. Around him, his crew stood a little straighter. The harvesters prey on species that think in predictable patterns. Admiral Yoon continued. They've never faced humans in real combat. They don't know that we fight hardest when we're fighting for others. The fleet began jumping to hyperspace. One by one, the ships vanished in flashes of blue light. They were headed for the void sector, where humanity would announce its presence to the galaxy in terms no one could misunderstand. Commander Ye-Jin Ryu, captain of the battlecruiser Soul's Vengeance, was among the last to jump. As her ship entered hyperspace, she thought about Dr. Lee and his team, alone and probably afraid somewhere in the darkness ahead. "Hold on," she whispered. "We're coming." The Harvester Queen stood in her command chamber, watching her fleets patrol the edge of Harvester space. For 3 weeks, her forces had been expanding their territory, capturing ships and gathering more specimens for study. The galaxy's government seemed unaware of their return. "My queen," one of her subordinates reported, "we are detecting unusual hyperspace activity near the outer perimeter." "Unusual how?" "Multiple ships. Large formations. They appear to be military vessels." The queen felt a flicker of concern. "What species?" "Unknown. The energy signatures don't match our databases." The queen moved to the main viewing screen. "Show me." What she saw made her pause. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formations. Hundreds of them. They were sleek and powerful looking, with weapons that gleamed in the starlight. "Are those human vessels?" she asked. Her subordinate checked the readings. "Yes, my queen, but this is impossible. According to our intelligence, humans have fewer than 300 ships. We count over 2,000 vessels." The queen's mind raced. She had studied human psychology extensively through her prisoners. They were emotional and unpredictable, but they weren't supposed to be militarily powerful. Have they made some mistake in navigation? She wondered aloud. Perhaps they are lost. That question was answered when the human fleet opened fire. Captain In-Soo Han watched from his bridge as the first wave of destroyers engaged the Harvester scouts. The enemy ships moved like living things, flowing through space in organic patterns, but they had never faced human tactical doctrine. "Target the lead ship," Han ordered. "Full spread of missiles." The Busan's hammer fired 6 high-velocity missiles in a pattern designed to cut off the enemy's escape routes. Other destroyers did the same. In seconds, the space around the Harvester scout was filled with explosions. "Direct hit," his weapons officer reported. "Enemy vessel is disabled." "Don't destroy it," Han commanded. "We need information about their main base." This was the first difference the Harvesters noticed. Most species either ran from superior forces or fought until they were destroyed. Humans seemed to have a third option. They captured enemies to learn from them. Major Ji-Hai Sung led the boarding party onto the disabled Harvester ship. Her team moved through the dark corridors with practiced efficiency. They had trained for operations like this, even though no human had ever fought Harvesters before. "Motion sensors ahead," reported Sergeant Kaiwoo Park. "Multiple contacts." "Non-lethal weapons only," Sung ordered. "We need prisoners." The fight was brief. Harvesters were designed for hunting helpless prey, not fighting trained soldiers. Sung's team used stun weapons and capture nets to subdue the aliens without killing them. "Major," called Corporal Da-Woon Kim from deeper in the ship, "you need to see this." Sung followed her to a chamber filled with transparent cylinders. Inside each one was a different alien being, suspended in some kind of preserving fluid. "They're still alive," Kim reported, checking her scanner readings. "Barely conscious, but alive." Sung felt anger burn in her chest. "Get them out of there!" All of them. While the rescue teams worked to free prisoners, Admiral Yoon's main fleet pushed deeper into Harvester territory. They moved in coordinated groups, each one designed to handle specific threats. Commander Ye-Jin Ryu's battlecruiser squadron encountered the first major Harvester fleet near a dead star system. The enemy had 50 ships to her 20, but Ryu had advantages the Harvesters didn't expect. "Enemy vessels are spreading out to surround us," her tactical officer reported. "Let them," Ryu replied. "Initiate formation hammer and anvil." The human ships split into 2 groups. One group acted as bait, appearing to retreat toward a large asteroid field. The other group used the asteroids as cover, waiting in ambush. The harvesters followed the fleeing ships just as human strategists had predicted. When they entered the asteroid field, the hidden human ships attacked from multiple directions at once. "Enemy command ship is trying to escape," Ryu's weapons officer announced. "Negative," Ryu replied. "Target their engines only. We want that ship intact." Back on the main harvester command vessel, the Queen watched her fleets being systematically destroyed or captured. This was not how the battle was supposed to go. Humans were supposed to be emotional and chaotic in combat. "Their tactics are perfect," she told her advisors. "Every move is calculated for maximum effect with minimum casualties. Should we attempt to negotiate, my Queen?" The Queen considered this. "Open a communication channel to their fleet commander." Admiral Yoon's face appeared on the harvester view screen. The Queen had expected to see anger or hatred, but the human's expression was calm and professional. "I am Admiral Soo-Jin Yoon of the Human Defense Force," she said. "You are holding our people prisoner. Release them immediately." "I am the Harvester Queen," came the reply. "Your species fascinates me, Admiral. You fight with such precision, yet your psychology suggests you should be chaotic in battle." "We're only chaotic to our enemies," Yoon replied. "To our friends, we're very reliable. What are your terms for ending this conflict?" "Complete surrender. Release of all prisoners. Withdrawal from this region of space." The Queen felt surprise. Most species would demand tribute or territory. "That's all?" "That's everything. And if I refuse?" Admiral Yoon's expression didn't change. "Then we'll take what we want by force." The Queen terminated the communication. She had never encountered a species that fought with such cold determination. Every battle report showed the same pattern. Humans would rather capture enemies than kill them, but they showed no mercy to those who threatened innocence. "Prepare the hive ships for combat," she ordered. All of them. The hive ships were the harvesters' ultimate weapons. Each one was the size of a small moon, filled with millions of warrior drones. The Queen had 6 hive ships hidden throughout her territory. But when the hive ships moved to engage the human fleet, they discovered something unexpected. The humans had been expecting them. Captain Han's destroyer squadron had been modified with special sensors designed to detect large gravitational masses. When the first hive ship appeared, Han was ready. "All units execute Operation Giant Killer," he commanded. The human ships swarmed around the massive hive ship like insects around a giant. But these insects had very sharp stings. They targeted specific weak points in the hive ship's structure, places where a small amount of damage could cause massive system failures. "Boarding parties away," Han reported as his Marines launched toward the hive ship's docking bays. "Remember, we're here to rescue prisoners, not to fight a war." Major Sung led her team into the hive ship's prisoner sections. What they found there made hardened soldiers stop and stare in shock. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were kept in cramped cells. Many had been there for years. Some were so weak they couldn't stand. "Medical teams to all prisoner levels," Sung called over her radio. "We're going to need every doctor and corpsman we have." As her teams worked to free the prisoners, Sung found herself face to face with Dr. Hyun-Soo Lee. "Major Sung," he said weakly. "I knew you would come. How did you know?" Dr. Lee smiled. "Because you're human. That's what we do." Throughout Harvester space, the same scene was repeated. Human forces didn't just defeat their enemies. They saved everyone they could find. Species that had been prisoners for years were freed and given medical treatment. Even wounded harvesters received medical care from human doctors. The Queen watched her empire crumble in a matter of days. Her fleets were destroyed or captured. Her prisoners were free. Her hive ships were under human control. But the thing that disturbed her most was how the humans treated their defeated enemies. They didn't execute prisoners or enslave them. They simply held them securely while offering medical treatment for their injuries. "This makes no sense," she told her remaining advisors. "Victorious species usually punish the defeated. These humans seem more concerned with healing than with revenge." When Admiral Yoon's flagship finally reached the Queen's command vessel, the end came quickly. The Queen's ship was surrounded by human vessels, with no possibility of escape. "Your Majesty," Admiral Yoon said over the communication channel, "this is your final opportunity to surrender." The Queen looked around her empty command center. Most of her people were already dead or captured. Her empire was gone. "What will happen to my surviving people?" she asked. They'll be held safely until we can determine which ones are war criminals and which ones were simply following orders. And me. You'll stand trial for crimes against sapient life. The Queen nodded slowly. I accept your terms. As human Marines boarded her ship, the Queen reflected on what she had learned about human nature. They were not chaotic or emotional in battle. They were methodical, determined, and absolutely relentless when protecting others. She had thought human madness meant loss of control. Now she understood it meant something far more dangerous: complete dedication to a cause they believed was right. 3 months after the Battle of the Void Sector, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different. The same crystal platforms floated in the same vast space, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Delegates who once spoke with casual arrogance now listened carefully when others talked. Ambassador Taeho Kim stood at the center of the hall, but he was no longer alone. Admiral Soo Jin Yoon stood beside him in her formal military uniform, along with Dr. Minho Lim, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology. The session had been called to address what the official records called the human incident. Everyone knew it was really about the fact that humanity had just defeated the most dangerous threat the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. Delegate Vexisthara spoke first, but her voice was different now. The sharp confidence was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like respect. The Council owes humanity an apology, she said. Our assumptions about your species were wrong, dangerously wrong. Murmurs of agreement came from around the hall. It was the first time in Galactic Council history that a delegate had publicly admitted to making such a serious mistake. Councillor Mordan, the ancient reptilian, activated his platform's speaker. The reports from the Void Sector are difficult to believe. A human fleet of over 2,000 ships, military technology we never knew existed. How did we miss this? Admiral Yoon stepped forward. You missed it because you never asked the right questions, she said calmly. You saw our diplomats being polite and assumed that's all we were capable of. You never considered that we might be choosing diplomacy over force. A delegate from the Centauri system raised a tentacle. But why hide your military strength? Most species display their power to gain respect. Because, Ambassador Kim replied, we didn't want respect based on fear. We wanted to earn respect through our actions and our character. Dr. Lim activated the hall's main display screen. It showed psychological profiles of different species, including humans. The Council made a fundamental error in understanding human psychology, he explained. You assumed that emotional behavior meant weakness. In reality, human emotions are what make us strong. The display showed brain scans and behavioral studies. When humans see others in danger, our emotional response triggers protective instincts. We don't just think about helping, we feel compelled to help. This makes us more determined, not less. Delegate Vexthera shifted uncomfortably on her platform. But your species fights among yourselves. Your own history shows centuries of warfare. Yes, Dr. Lim agreed. But look at why we fight. We fight against oppression. We fight to protect the innocent. We fight for principles we believe in. When humans go to war, it's usually because we think something is worth fighting for. Admiral Yoon added, the same emotional drives that make us protective of our own people also make us protective of others who need help. That's why we couldn't ignore the Harvester threat, even when you forbade us to act. A new voice spoke from one of the smaller platforms. It belonged to Captain Jexitar, a Proxima Prime officer who had been rescued from the Harvesters. I want to tell the Council what I witnessed, he said. I was captured by the Harvesters 6 months ago. I thought I would die in their laboratories. But when the humans came, they didn't just rescue their own people. They rescued everyone. He paused, looking around the hall. I was the delegate who voted to restrict human expansion. I believed they were dangerous and unstable. But when I was in that prison, dying slowly, it was humans who risked their lives to save me. Other voices joined in. More survivors from different species shared their stories. The pattern was always the same. Humans had gone out of their way to help people they barely knew, even when it put them in greater danger. President Soo Kyung-oh appeared on the main screen via hologram from Earth. She looked tired but determined. Fellow beings of the galaxy, she said, humanity never wanted to be seen as a military power. We wanted to be partners in building a peaceful confederation. But we learned something important from this experience. She paused, looking directly at Delegate Vexthara. Peace only works when everyone is willing to defend it. The harvesters proved that there are forces in the galaxy that cannot be reasoned with. Someone has to be ready to stop them. Counselor Mordan spoke slowly. Are you saying humanity will become the galaxy's military arm? No, President O replied. We're saying humanity will help protect those who cannot protect themselves, but only if they want our protection. Dr. Lim brought up another display. It showed human ships patrolling various star systems, helping with rescue operations and deterring pirate attacks. Since the Battle of the Void Sector, human forces have stopped 12 pirate raids, rescued 6 stranded vessels, and helped evacuate 2 colonies threatened by natural disasters, he reported. We haven't claimed any territory or demanded any payment. Admiral Yoon nodded. We're not conquerors, we're protectors. There's a big difference. Delegate Vexthera stood up from her platform. The hall grew quiet as everyone waited for her to speak. 3 months ago, I said, may the deity help you when humans go mad, she admitted. I meant it as an insult. I thought human madness meant chaos and destruction. She looked directly at Ambassador Kim. I was wrong. Human madness means absolute determination to protect innocent life, even at great cost to yourselves. I never realized that we are the ones the deity sent humans to help. The hall erupted in discussion. Some delegates expressed amazement at this statement. Others nodded in agreement. Ambassador Kim raised his hand for quiet. We appreciate the Council's change in attitude, he said. But we need to establish new protocols for the future. The old restrictions on human expansion must be lifted. Agreed, Counselor Mordan said immediately. The motion to restrict humanity is hereby rescinded. Furthermore, Kim continued, we propose the establishment of the Galactic Protection Protocol. Any species threatened by forces they cannot handle alone should be able to request human assistance. Delegate Vexithara was the first to support the motion. I second this proposal. The vote was unanimous. Dr. Lim smiled as he watched the results. The harvesters made one critical error in their psychological analysis, he said. They thought human emotions made us weak and unpredictable. They didn't understand that our emotions make us stronger and more determined. Admiral Yoon added. They also didn't understand that humans get more creative under pressure, not less. The greater the threat, the harder we work to find solutions. As the session ended, delegates from various species approached the human representatives. Some wanted to thank them for stopping the harvesters. Others wanted to request protection for their own systems. A few wanted to learn more about human military technology. Ambassador Kim found himself surrounded by species leaders who had ignored him just months before. Ambassador, said a delegate from the Outer Rim, my people have been troubled by raiders for years. The Council has been unable to help us. Would humanity consider patrolling our trade routes? We'll send a squadron next week, Kim replied without hesitation. Another delegate asked about establishing human naval bases in their territory for faster response times. A third wanted to know if humans could help train their own military forces. Each request was met with the same response. We'll help. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, Delegate Vexithara approached Ambassador Kim privately. I owe you a personal apology, she said. My fear of human nature nearly cost thousands of lives. If the Council had supported your rescue mission from the beginning, the outcome would have been the same. Kim replied gently. Humans don't abandon people in need whether we have permission or not. Vexthara made a sound that the translator interpreted as rueful laughter. That's exactly what I was afraid of. I thought it made you dangerous. It does make us dangerous, Kim admitted, but only to those who prey on the innocent. Admiral Yoon joined them as they walked toward the exit. The galaxy is going to be a very different place from now on, she observed. Better, I hope, Vexithara said. Much better, Kim agreed. Because now everyone knows what happens when humans decide to protect something. As they reached the chamber doors, Vexithara stopped and looked back at the vast hall. Ambassador Kim, she said thoughtfully, when I said may the deity help you when humans go mad, I never imagined the deity might be listening. Kim smiled. Perhaps the deity was listening all along. Perhaps that's why humans exist, to help when help is needed most. Outside the council chambers, human ships could be seen through the viewing ports, patrolling the space lanes and keeping watch for threats. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their ships. It was their absolute refusal to let evil go unopposed no matter what the cost.